wanted to share. XCM as a topic is quite big, so every single topic of those can be a separate talk, a presentation. So my whole presentation is more about sharing some key concepts, use cases, tools that you can use. So I adjusted it a little bit more to the hackathon. So what a developer needs and where you can find the documentation or the tools to build what you want with XCM. So the agenda for today is definition, of course, the motivation, some key concepts without delving a lot in each one. But again, I will share where you can read more about it. Resources, either it's videos, documentation, examples, everything you need. Some key features are in XCM v3, which is in use right now. Tools that you can use. Some improvements on the XCM format right now that happened, and that's good to share because you know what you can use. Again, some use cases to give you some ideas, and to give you some ideas, and then motivation to think of your own use cases on your own things to build. And then so the next versions that are coming, which is v4 and v5. So XCM, the definition. XCM stands for cross consensus messaging format. It's a language for different consensus systems to communicate with each other. So when we say language, it's a format. It's we use it to communicate like we use language. Different. I highlighted different because it's not to use it like we can use it also for sending messages in the same when we are in the same chain, but it's mostly for different systems. So from one chain to a smart contract, or from the relay chain in the context of Polkadot, from relay chain to a parachain, or move through bridges. So it's a communication language, let's say. Another key aspect is that we communicate intentions. So with the XCM format, we have, as I will mention after, not in detail again, instructions, and that's we express intention, what we want to do. So let's say for the one use case of XCM, which is transfer tokens from a relay chain, let's say, to a parachain, we express the intention to transfer this token. But then the execution happens in another layer. So we have the transport layer, and the execution happens from the XCM executor, which is another. Again, it's another actor in this whole topic of XCM. Is quite big. Anyway, I hope it was clear. So let's keep from this slide that it's a language, a format that we can use to express and communicate, to express our intentions and communicate with other systems. Either it's chains, parachains, relay chains, smart contracts, etc. The motivation, why do we have XCM? Why did we build a whole new language? Was it necessary? Is it the key thing in Polkadot and ecosystem? And yes, it is. And I put it on the bottom here of the slide, just to show that XCM is the foundation, is the building block to make all the other things that we want in Polkadot. And so if with XCM, we can, in the second upper layer, we can make different systems communicate with each other, then that means that, let's go on the, sorry about that. I don't know if you can hear this. So then we go on the third layer up. If different systems can communicate, then we can take the functionality which is in one chain. Let's say one chain, like a relay chain, has 5 functionalities. We can spread these 5 functionalities in different chains. So we can have more specialization. So we can have one chain that does, well, as now we can remove identities, which is happening right now, from the relay chain and have it in a separate chain. We can have a chain that does, which is for the future, we can have a chain that does staking. And we remove this functionality from the relay chain. So this helps in decentralization and specialization. So have a chain or a system, depending what is built, that is more specialized than a whole ecosystem more decentralized. And then on the next level, which is a fourth level, that means we can build a heterogeneous sharded ecosystem, which is another way of saying different decentralized parts. So an ecosystem that that involves a lot of different parts, each specialized in one thing, and they can all communicate with each other. And that's exactly what Polkadot's mission is. So as we can see with the slide, it's quite critical to have XCM in Polkadot's actual mission and purpose. So yeah, I thought it was important to mention that. Some key concept. This is like it's just some of the why I put the slide, because for someone who doesn't know anything about XCM, I thought I would say that before delving and understanding the instructions, specific details, how it works, it's good to get a first taste, like of the key concepts, like something that you need to know, so you can understand all the other things that are mentioned either in the docs or in YouTube videos, etc. So some parts is like multi-location and multi-assets. That is like that we need to have, because when a lot of different systems talk with each other, we need to know from where we are. Let's say in the case again of transferring tokens, from where the token is going to where the source and the destination, and yeah, and this is relative. So how do we express that? Well, it's the same thing I was thinking the other day, that multiplication can be expressed as sending, for example, a letter from Greece to France. So, well, in Greece, you are in Athens. So in Athens, you will say that, oh, I'm in Athens. And then this message needs to go up one level, which means, oh, Athens is in Greece, and then needs to be sent in France. And then in France, you need to specify where exactly. So let's say in Bretagne, which is my family resides there. So it's exactly the same with chains. So if you are in a specific, so in the relay chain, you have to, sending to a parachain, you have to set the multi-location accordingly. A lot of details already started measuring a lot of details. I'm trying not to, but there's a really good, I mentioned the YouTube video of a deep dive, which is an XCM overview. It mentions like key concepts like multi-location, also XCM executor. As I said, like XCM messages need to be executed and have some sort of result. So this happens from the XCM executor. The XCMP, which is really, really important. It's there's a difference between XCM and XMP. XMP is the protocol, is the transport layer through which these messages are transferred. Pallet XCM, which is a really important, I think, concept also here for the hackathon, is it gives you the interface, extrinsics, or I don't know if you're used to the word extrinsics, but calls that you can use to execute specific instructions, or a set of instructions more correctly. And well, instructions, I have not said about instructions. Instructions is actually a basic, a part of what you want to do with this XCM message. So you have an XCM message which includes a lot of instructions, and this can be withdraw asset, deposit asset, and a lot more, but which are mentioned in the either in the wiki or depending on what you want to do. It's better to dive into each one and understand what happens. Teleport and reserve asset transfer, I also mentioned that, but it's not the only ways. It's two basic methods of transferring asset. And yeah, I just had to, the forays, yeah. It was, the goal of this slide was not to cover all the key concepts. It's just that to give you a taste and make sure that you have the base to be able to then build something, try to test stuff, build an XCM message, try out some XCM instructions. To do that, you need this. So you can either watch this XCM overview. It's really good. It goes in all the building blocks, but also the I will mention also after the documentation, the Polkadot wiki, which goes also step by step in and increasing complexity. Yeah, so XCM, there are growing needs. We need to build more tools. We need to have more interfaces, good UIs, UXs. There's a big effort from Parity, but also other teams. Parity, the building APIs to make easier for builders to build their use cases. But it's not enough. Like we want more tools, better UIs, good interfaces that abstracts all the XCM complexity and makes it easier for users to do these complex scenarios, transferring tokens from one chain to another, to make have scenarios like lock tokens in one side and using a function in another system completely different. So we need more tools. So that's where you come into the play, and it would be great if you are interested in building something with XCM, XCM instructions, and implementing a use case that you find useful, because that not only is useful for the Polkadot ecosystem and adds value, but it's also key for the Polkadot's mission. Yeah, so if I convinced you to build, where should you start? So again, I prefer to give directions on where you can find what in the in XCM, because there's so much information and really detailed out there that you can find practically anyway a lot of things. I wouldn't say anything, but okay. So where should you start from my point of view? There's a lot of documentation and resources, like as I mentioned previously, the Polkadot wiki. It has a section of XCM. It's quite complete. It builds up complexity. It starts from the building blocks, like instructions, what is XCM, the XMP, the different transport protocols, and really, I think it's a good way of getting a good understanding of what XCM is and how can it be used. The XCM docs, which is the official, the documentation. This has more technical, and as soon as you technical information, and as soon as you start building with XCM and you run into issues, you try to debug your messages. I think this is a good place to look into, so you understand how actually XCM executor works, or like things like that, more in detail concepts. YouTube, in YouTube, if you go in Polkadot Decoded, either in 2022, 2023, in Sub-Zero, there are a lot of XCM presentations, either high level or low level, very other very technical, include demos, exactly going walkthroughs step by step on how you can build also following the video. So it's quite complete. The deep dives, as I mentioned before, there is also deep dives on XCM, XCM intro, XCM v3, and it covers a lot of things. Yeah, these are the, let's say, not static, because, well, the videos, yeah, they will not change, but and also the wiki, yeah, there are changes. But to stay up to date with the latest things that are happening in Polkadot, but also in specifically about XCM, I think a good source is to following to check in the forum. If you search with XCM, you will find a lot of articles that mention different things like use cases or latest improvements, which we will mention in this presentation. Well, the actual repo, the Polkadot SDK repo, which, I mean, it's the source code, which is the ultimate source of truth. Depending on, well, yeah, and depending on the version that is used currently in the change. So this is a very good way of keeping up to date. And by checking issues and PRs, you can see what is being developed right now and what will be developed in the future. The substrate stack exchange is also if you have specific technical questions, like a specific case, you're trying to do something and get an error. So you can post there, or you can read. You can find, there's quite a lot of info. You can find others that are posted either related to XM or in general in substrate and Polkadot tools and yeah, tools. I mentioned here, XCM is a live document. You can propose changes. What do I mean by that? Yeah, so apart all the information that you can read and it's available to you, and you can take this information and learn from it and try to build based on this information. It's not static. You can change the XM format there are RFCs. There's a discussion happening. If you have a use case that is not covered, if you have a need that is not covered, we highly recommend to add a comment and propose changes yourself. So yeah, just be critical with what you read also, because maybe something that works now in the future it might not be the case. With things are changing. So yeah, so stay curious. No, stay curious. We're not. Stay critical, and yeah, feel free to propose any changes. Yeah, I added here a part for the XCM v3 because it's the version that it's running now, and I added some features. But again, as I was preparing this presentation, I realized that all the things that we can mention are very highly covered from specific presentation others. So like this one, the deep dive in XCM v3. But yeah, I mentioned it in the slide because it's the version that is running, and I wanted to incite you to check this deep dive and also the features of the XM, which is some of the features: expectations, branching, safe dispatches, XM through bridges, etc. For example, branching, you can have messages so where you express. Well, again, the highly common use case is transfer tokens. So, but I can say another example. So branching would be a message that will have, it's like an if-else statement. So if this happens, or if this is the case on one criteria that we set, then do that. Execute, then express this intention. Else, if you find this criteria, if this is the case, if this is another thing happens, so do another thing. So this is like exactly like an if-else statement, which is quite interesting, and enables more complex scenarios. Another thing that I wanted to mention here is the safe dispatches, which makes it like more safe, that like we're more sure that the XCM instructions that we include in the message um, will have the expected result. So we have some safe, some safe safeties. Let's say, I don't know how to say it. So it makes it more safe that it will execute as expected. Again, I will not, remote looking and XCM through bridges, which is quite interesting. But we're going into detail in the deep dive, and there's also a demo. So if you wanna build something with XCM, I highly recommend this deep dive. Yes. So what can I build? Yeah. So on the side, I always put some things that I would try to think as a builder or as a hacker if I was joining this hackathon. So it's not like for you to know, oh, okay, XMV3, we have expectations. Okay, whatever. No, but what can I do with that? What can I build with this feature? What can I do with safe dispatch? Oh, I have an XM message. Oh, I can add a level of safety, so I'm more sure that the XM will execute. What can be improved? Again, so as I said before, this is what is built right now, and but this is for you to use, to test, and get back with feedback. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe there's a case you found, an edge case or a case that is not covered, and we ask you to think like what can be improved and give us feedback. Yes. Okay. Tools. Yeah. So I think this is quite important when you are in a hackathon and you want to build stuff, to know what you have. Related to XM, not an exhaustive list, but maybe to get you into the right direction. Yeah, in a high level, there are some tools like explorers, like SouthScan, which is not only related, it doesn't have only XCM messages, but a lot more. But it's a good place when you execute XCM messages and you want to see what actually happened. And they also do the message and they decode it, so you see the instructions that you put. So that's quite a good tool. Whenever I'm debugging something, I'm using quite a lot SouthScan. Sidecar has also, I mentioned Sidecar because it's a part of the team that I'm working on, and it's a tool that we support. And we have it's an REST API where we provide different endpoints. One of the endpoints is blocks endpoints, and then if the block includes an XML message, there we provide also the decoded instructions. So it's quite handy. Also, I use that a lot in my debugging process, in case it's useful while you build something of your own. Monitoring messages, I mentioned this here mostly in case you want to build that has something that you will require monitor XML messages like an explorer. So I added the wiki page, which is quite detailed. It mentions the calls that you will have to use and to get the XML messages in each block. Examples, yeah. So if you are a hands-on person like me, you will definitely be interested in the XM docs in the repo this time. There are a lot of examples, which I was thinking of showing some, but there's also a specific deep dive, which is called XM Simulator and XM Emulator. In the first part, they show how to run all the, not all, but some of the examples that are included in the XM docs. Some cases is transfer, teleport transfer, it's a lot more though. Yes, also, in my case, if I show, I would have to explain some other concepts, like if I mention like specific instructions, I will have to explain each instruction. And I think for the purposes of this presentation, I don't know if it's useful, but if it's needed, I can do it. I can do it in another call or in a mentoring session. Yes. So yeah. So apart these tools, there are also libraries. One really important, and it's also one that is built from the team I work right now, which is Asset Transfer API. This is a great way to start. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned like the Polkadot wiki and the resources that you can check, but let's say you don't check anything else, or you check very little things, and then you can just directly go to this repo, check the examples, the README, and you can actually execute, like construct your, in the case, again, in the XCM case of transferring tokens, you can construct the code and have it ready to execute. And then I use this tool to transfer tokens, like from Relay to Asset Hub, and it's quite handy. You just need to put the right parameters, so the assets that you want to transfer, and the destination, and some other parameters, and it's quite easy to use. I highly recommend. Also, once you use it and then you want to build something or you want to implement something similar, so you can look at the code, how Asset Transfer API implements the different, like, for example, token transfers, like teleport, depending on the parameters that you set, and then take some, let's say, inspiration from there and use it on your own project. There is another team, which is not Paraspay. They have built the XCM API router and SDK, and I'm not very familiar, but I highly recommend to check, because they have some quite useful. You can use the API, for example, and they look really good. Their tools, and quite solid team. So let's say you get started with XCM and you run into issues, something doesn't work as expected, you don't get the results you're expecting. You can debug. There are tools to debug your XCM messages. And yeah, I put Chopsticks up there because it's a really good tool. You can test end-to-end your XCM messages from source chain to destination chain, and yeah, it's quite good. ZombieNet also it spins up it requires a little bit more setup, but it's a quite good tool, and again, it's for end-to-end testing. XCM Simulator, it's to just test some XCM instructions. Doesn't require the setup that, for example, ZombieNet requires. So it's faster. And in the deep dive of the XCM deep dives, there's also a walkthrough on how to, I think, XCM Simulator and XCM Emulator. And they explain also how things are working. So for debugging, I recommend this to check these 4 tools, and whatever suits your needs. Yeah, you can use. Improvements, yes. So this was last post. I mentioned this in the Polkadot forum. The link is here. XCM user and developer experience improvements. I found that this this topic of what is improved is also very important in that here in a hackathon, because if something is improved, then that means that your building experience is better from what it was before. So I again highly recommend to check this forum post, but I will mention some things that I mentioned there. A better way to estimate the XCM fees. So now there's a runtime API, the XCM dry run. And with this, you can have, again, an end-to-end from source to end overview of the total fees of an XCM message, which is, which is super amazing. As soon as you will start working with this, you will see that also the value of having an API like that. Using multiple currents for XCM fees, yes. So instead of using native tokens, this I think this is under development still, but yeah, I don't remember exactly. Instead of using all the native tokens, you can use other tokens to pay fees for your XCM messages, which is very good. Another improvement, consolidating XCM execution and transport fees. This is going more into detail. And I just mentioned that before XCM programs did not have any control on fees. So now there will be better consolidation. But I prefer not to go because, a lot of details on this one. Hiding XCM complexity for non-trivial scenarios. That's really useful, I think, and also to mention here because you can use that. It's a call, like an expressing in the palette XCM. Well, that's an example. I think they mentioned some other calls in the forum post, but I chose to put this one. So this, when you're building something, you can use it. So instead of having different instructions, and you can use this call, and it abstracts all the complexity for what you want to do. Highly recommend to check that, and it's a great addition. Enabling complex scenarios. I actually don't remember because I didn't add anything. Some improvements that enable cases that were not available before with previous version, but now we can do. So I'm sorry, I don't remember which. I will have to double check the forum post. And the last one, it's also really important when you're building a tool, a app by using XCM, is better handling of transfer failures. So I will go a little bit back. So in XCM v3, we have safe dispatches, right? So this makes it, I mentioned that it makes it more safe, more secure, that what we intend to do will be done as we expect it. This is another, so failures will happen. And so we need to find ways to handle these failures better. And very common, no, I will not say common, but this happens, that the transfer doesn't complete and some tokens are trapped in a chain. So the user wants to get their tokens back, right? So again, in the palette XCM, which I mentioned, it's the interface, a very good interface to interact with to build XCM messages. We have the extension claim assets, with which you can claim the tokens that are trapped. There's a whole also guide how to do that, and explains how it happened. So if you need more information about that, let me know. So again, I thought of mentioning these things again, so you know the tools, you know where to find the documentation. But this is some latest changes that you might find handy on what you're going to build. Yes. So use cases. So this is a very small slide compared to other slides that I have seen, and so the prevailing use case of XCM is token transfers between different chains, but also different systems, right? Not only chains, can be smart contract. So we don't want that only this case. We can do much more with XCM, and there are a lot of other cases. So as I said in the beginning, the whole mission and purpose of Polkadot is to be decentralized, have a lot of different chains, each specialized with one specific functionality. So, for example, we can have a different chain or different pair chain in the context of Polkadot, which is for governance. And then we can vote with tokens that we have, for example, with tokens that we have in the relay chain. Maybe we can execute a function, which is a call, which is voting in the governance pair chain, or the same thing as in staking. If there is a separate pair chain which is specialized in staking. There are cases which are quite interesting. I also highly recommend, because even if I tried, I wouldn't be able to describe these cases. Multi-chain DEXs or multi-chain DAOs. There are some examples in Polkadot Decoded, like the ones that I mentioned here, of Teleswap, and they do cross-chain trading, but also cross-chain auto-compounding. It's quite interesting. So if you're more into DeFi and you're interested in building something like that, maybe you can get some inspiration. And but as I said, the list is very long, and use cases that are for the near future or the mid-long term, but also use cases that are just ideas, and they're just intentions to build something like that with XCM. So it's not, even if it's the prevalent use cases, token transfers, the XCM is much more wider, it's much more powerful, and it can be used in a lot of other cases, the ones that we see here, but a lot more, which I couldn't include in this slide. But apart these use cases that other people have built, teams, the things that we have thought, or other external teams, but in this hackathon, it's an opportunity for you to think what other use cases can be there, what you can think of. Maybe you have a user need, a user need that is not covered, and that can be its own use case. So a way to figure out, or maybe you already know, but other reasons why different systems could communicate, or even if you know a multi-system approach that is actually in use in non-blockchain world and can be applied to blockchain, then it's a good use case for XCM. So this slide is more to incite you to not get only what I'm sharing, but think, what else can it be there? What else we can use XCM for, and build your own use case, and then build your own projects and tool. And I added the form post, which is XCM case studies wanted, to show that how the approach is open. So we don't build something and then we give it to you and take it, and that's what it is. No, as the XCM document is live, also the use cases, we want more use cases, we want more your ideas, and what needs have you thought, and and if you want to also post some use cases that you found in that forum post, that would be quite helpful. Next versions. The next version. So XCM v4, it has, I think it's already merged. It's syntax. It's mostly syntax changes and renamings. The most exciting is XMV5, and I added the corresponding issue in case you want to take a look at what's happening in the future, or what is discussed right now for the next version of XCM. And I put there XCMV because question mark, because I hope I hope that there are going to be more versions with more exciting features and covering more complex and interesting use cases in in the future. Yeah, that's it. I don't think so. I think that's that the slides I had for today, and thank you for listening. Yes. What is the question? Rustic production extrinsics are fine. Oh, it's just a comment. Yeah, Akala Chopsticks. It's a really good tool. I also recommend. Yeah, if you have any questions, I can. There are no other questions.